You've spent hours in building and refining your dashboard on Power BI desktop, but don't you think your insights are just trapped on your screen? Hi, I'm Niveda, and welcome to the final chapter of Star Agile's Power BI course. This is the last chapter in our Power BI course. You've already learned how to clean the data, model, and also build an amazing dashboard. If you're interested in learning about the dashboard building part, I highly recommend you to watch our previous chapters. It will give you a good knowledge and tips and tricks in building your dashboard. Today, we are going to take it live. We are going to learn about Power BI service, which is used in order to share the dashboards that you have created so long and also set up automatic refreshes on a daily basis or weekly basis. We are going to understand the various components that is involved in sharing your reports. All right then, let's get started. So let's get started and understand what is this Power BI service all about. But before that, let us first try to understand the difference between Power BI desktop that we've been working for so long in and Power BI service. Okay. Power BI service versus Power BI desktop. So your desktop is basically best for building your reports, which we just did. So it can analyze complex data models, apply transformations by using Power Query Editor. It can create relationships, which we are doing in data modeling, and also build measures with DAX. So these are the things that your Power BI desktop could do. But what about publishing them? What about sharing them? That is when your Power BI service comes into picture. Guys, please do understand that you can still create reports, you can still build relationship and perform data modeling operations in Power BI service as well. But however, the capabilities of all this is limited. The reason being that Power BI service was mainly created for collaboration and sharing and also scheduling refreshes, creating wonderful dashboards and publishing apps. Okay, so that is the reason why your Power BI service is required when it comes to sharing your work with your team, and you got to collaborate working on your desktop application. So that is why Power BI service is into picture, wherein you have to work, share and also collaborate with your other teammates. You can share your reports, you can download it to PDF format, you can also share it in PowerPoint, right? And what is the first step for that? That is PBI account creation, right? So you need to have a Power BI service account, and this account cannot be your personal account, right? It has to be a work email ID, okay, with a specific domain. It could also be a student email ID. Your personal domains like Gmail or Yahoo or even Microsoft.com will not work, okay? There is certain data governance policy, which is why there are certain restrictions when it comes to having a Power BI service account. So once you actually get your service account, you need to log in to app.powerbi.com. So how do you do that? Just navigate to your browser, guys, and just type in app.powerbi.com. So this will basically open up the interface for your Power BI service. So this is how your Power BI service is going to look like, all right? Now let me just briefly explain how this interface is like. Now if you see towards your top right corner, that is your profile, okay, your business profile. So here the domain in which you have logged in comes, then your tenant name, followed by if you have any trial status, everything is basically seen here. Followed by that you have the notification menu. So this is basically if you've performed any kind of operations of late, or if you're trying to refresh something, if you're scheduled refresh, all this falls under notification. Now as soon as you open the report, right, you will be able to see a list of reports that you have actually worked in, right? If you scroll towards your right side, you will find some of the exciting reports. So you can actually explore this by yourself and try to understand what's happening there, right? So as I told you, you can also build reports in Power BI service. So if you click on this new report option, it will let you import data and create. But however, As I mentioned again, we will not be doing the creation part in the service. The service is explicitly for sharing only. Now here, towards the left side you have the home button, okay, and if you just scroll down you will have all the recent reports that you have actually published, okay. If you have favorited any of that, even that will be there. And the best way is you can also search any of the reports that you have published. So let's say if I just type in HR, so it will load the particular thing for the HR dashboard, right? So taking some time. So do you see here, if you click on HR, your HR dashboard semantic model as well as a report has been viewed. So this is also another way where you can search and view. Now before we understand how to mainly work on it, let us try to first publish one of the report that we created, right? So how do we do that? Let's go back to our dashboard that we just built. Yeah, this is the dashboard. So just to make sure certain pointers, okay, what you have to do is just go to the file, options and settings, and in the options, navigate to the current file and you have something called as report settings. So click on report settings. So here, do you see this persistent filter? Just make sure that this is unchecked, okay? By default, it is unchecked, but there is a reason why I'm actually telling you to do this, right? So just make sure that it is unchecked, okay? So save it. And once you save, just make sure you have renamed all the pages appropriately, right? And also select the page on which you want your app to basically land. Make sure that your home page is always selected. Make sure that the filters are all in place. Okay. Now, in order to publish, what you have to do is click on this particular publish button. So again, this publish button will be enabled once you have signed in. So in the top right corner, do you see this icon here? So if you have not signed in, you will not be able to publish. So once you have signed in, the publish gets enabled. And if you click on the publish option, it is again asking me if I have to save all these changes. So I'll just be clicking on save, all right, and click on publish again. So here, as soon as you click on publish, guys, there is a list of things that appears, right? So this is basically the different workspaces, correct? So when you're going to publish a report, it will ask you in what workspace you want to publish this. So which is why it is important to have a workspace in Power BI. So let us understand what a workspace is and how do you create one so that you can go ahead and publish this. So let me just cancel this as of now. All right. So what is a workspace? All right. A workspace is basically a container in Power BI service where the reports, dashboards, or the data sets are published. So you can think of it this way, guys. So let's say you are basically working in multiple reports, okay, and you have separate workspace. You have a separate team for which you have to basically publish one particular report. So let's say you're working on two reports. One is concerned to the sales department and the other to the accounts department. So when you're working in reports like that, rather than having everything in one generic workspace, it is very important to create two separate workspaces so that you can assign roles, you can manage the permissions, and you can give access to the people who are only relevant to that particular workspace. So here, what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a workspace specifically for sales and a workspace specifically for accounts, in which all of my reports, my data set, and the data flows, everything is going to be there. And this report, this workspace is also going to be accessible by people who work in that particular department. So which is why workspaces are important, guys. So whatever is a report that you have published now, it stays in the workspace, okay? So think of it like a team folder, okay? Except that it is there on cloud, right? So long whatever we did is like in your local machine. Power BI service is all in the cloud. Now, When you're trying to work with the workspaces, you need to understand the different types. This could be one of the important interview question as well. So there are two types, okay? So one is My Workspace and other one is Workspaces. So even when I showed you this publish option, right? So even when I clicked on the publish option, right, it's asking me to save, all right. So do you see this My Workspace here? So this is a separate type of workspace, and the rest of the workspace is the workspace that is created by me. Okay, so the two types of workspaces are My Workspace, which is more of like a personal workspace. Okay, so this can be used mostly for training purposes. Okay, and if you want to explore something, if you're working in R&D where you just want to have access to that particular space, you can go ahead and you can use My Workspace. All right. Secondly, you also have workspaces. So workspaces are nothing but this is more like a shared spaces. So this is a very reason why we are using the Power BI service, isn't it? So it will basically allow you to collaborate and publish with the other people in the management. Okay, the only prerequisite, very important, is that you need to have a pro or a premium license. Okay, so just make sure that this is done so that you will be able to add colleagues to your workspace and collaborate your work. Okay, so let me just show you where you find them. Okay, navigating back to our Power BI. So here, if you actually see towards the left side, right, you have something called as Workspaces and My Workspaces. All right, if you click on this Workspaces icon, right, you can see that this is a My Workspace, which is more of a personal folder that I'm talking about. You can see only one icon, right? So if I simply have to click on that, it will take you to that particular workspace. Okay, so here if you see towards the right side, I don't have any options to share or collaborate or manage access or give grant permissions. It is a very plain thing where I can just view the reports that I have published to myself. But unlike that is not your workspaces. In workspaces, if you see, you see here this workspace, it has like a group icon. So one of the workspaces is a test workspace which I created. So let me just click on that and show it to you. See, you have this create app option. So remember guys, you'll be able to also create apps out of the workspaces, and one workspace can have multiple reports. However, you will be able to create only one app per workspace. Okay, and here is your manage access. So if you click on this, you can actually search people in your organization and you can grant them access for this entire workspace. So this is exactly what I was talking about, right? Okay, so these are the workspaces that is already included in my workspace. So these are the reports which is already included in my workspace. So with that note, let us first create a workspace so that we can go ahead and publish our report into this workspace. Okay, so clicking on this new workspace, so it will ask you for a couple of mandatory things, like you need the name of the workspace. So let's say test PBI. I'm just creating a name called as test PBI. That's the name of the workspace. Okay, so it will give you an option whether this name is available or not. So I can give a description if I want to, right? And also I can upload an image, a logo or something if I'm willing to, and I can just go ahead and click on apply. So now a particular workspace called as test PBI is getting created. It may take some time. All right, so your workspace is now created, and if you see, it's actually empty, and as it's not a personal workspace, right, you can see the group icon and you also have the settings in place. Now let's get back to the Power BI dashboard. Right, so let me just cancel this and try to publish it again. So here, do you see test PBI? So this is the workspace that we just created, and I'm just going to select this. So now my report is getting published to Power BI dashboard, right? Yeah. So now do you see here, it shows success, and it also shows a message which says open part 2 dashboard.pbix in Power BI. So this is a name in which I have saved the file. So I can directly click on open here. It will divert me, or I can always go here and try to refresh this file. So you can click using the direct link, or you can always Yeah, test PBI, you'll find it. Got it? So here both the things works just fine, and let me just show you how it is published. Okay, so if you publish, you can actually see two options here, guys. So one is the report and the other one is a semantic model. So let's try to understand what that means. Okay, so you basically have two things, right? So one is a report. So report is nothing but it is a report which has multiple pages that has been published. Okay, so that is a report. With respect to your semantic model is nothing but your data set, guys. So when you're basically taking the information from your local to the cloud, you need to connect the semantic model, isn't it? Because without data set, the report will not have any meaning to it. So which is why whenever you import, you will be able to see the report and the semantic model, which is nothing but your data set. Why this is important is any kind of operations, like let's say if you want to manage your refreshes, if you want to schedule them, you'll be doing it on your semantic model. So which is why when you go to this, you'll be able to see two things, guys. So here you can see the owner, here you can see the refresh date and all of that. So this is a semantic model which you can refresh, and this is a report. All right, so if you click on this report, you will be able to view. Yes, yeah, so you can see the pages towards your left side. Okay, if you just navigate, you can see all the pages that you have created in your report. You can just navigate, and you also have an option in order to adjust the width. So if you want to have a full screen view, you can just click on that, and if you have to go back, you can just click on go back. Okay, and even here you have the access to all the pages, right? You can also click on escape. That will also do the same thing. Okay, with that note, let's just see some of the things that you can do here. So do you see a bookmark option here? So in case if you have to work on any filter, so let's say I want to visualize only the sales for Hyderabad and I want my dashboard to look like this. So in that case, you can just go ahead and you can bookmark, you can add a personal bookmark and you can say Hyderabad sales. Okay, and you can save this bookmark, or you can also bookmark this whole application link here, guys. Report link can also be bookmarked like the way you bookmark like any other websites. All right, and here you have the reset option for slicers. Okay, so it will just make sure that your report is back to the normal when you click on that. And towards the left side, I have certain options to save a copy of this, and very important, download file. So what this says is it is basically asking me if I want to download the pbix file. So when this will come into importance is that, so let's say you're like team of 5 people who are working on multiple things, right? So once you publish this particular report, so let's say the other person has to start working on that particular report that you have just published. So in things like that, what you have to do is that come all the way here, download the file and start making changes on that updated file. So that is why this particular feature comes into picture. You also have like a lot of things like manage permissions here, where you can add link. Okay, you can share it, you can copy the link. Okay, so this will basically copy the link to the report, which you can share to your people in the organization who have the read access. And getting back to the main report, what are the other things that is there? Yes, you can also export it, analyze in Excel. Yeah, very important. So let's say this is a particular data set that you want to analyze and build pivot reports on your Excel. You can also do that, guys. And you also have exported to PDF, where it will not be interactive, because right now it is interactive, where if I change all the fields, I can see the corresponding reactions. But if you have to download it to PDF, you'll not be able to see that. But wherein in your PowerPoint, it's quite different, because if you wish to open the same thing in your PowerPoint, right, you can always have the interactiveness, provided you log into that particular, email ID, right? So it takes some time to load the report. So you have to make sure that you are logged into the correct user ID, which is same as that of the one that you have used to log into Power BI service. So once that is done, your report is good to get published. So do you see here? I'll still be able to have it interactive. So this becomes very handy, especially if you are, planning to present something when you have a couple of things in your PPT and you want to add this dashboard as well. Becomes very handy, guys, at that point of time. Okay, so yeah, you do have a lot of options here. You can just explore these options at the bottom. Okay, and also just in case you just want to copy one particular visual, you can also just copy the image. Okay, it will take some time to copy. So there is an image that is being copied, so you can simply copy this image and you can also paste it in a corresponding Word document. Okay, so in case you can paste it in PPT as well, you can paste it in Word. So this is a PPT that we just created. So if you want, you can paste it in PPT or Word and you can explain this as a part of your presentation. So that is another feature. So getting back to the report view. So you have multiple other things, guys. So you can actually explore all this by yourself and try to get comfortable with the whole user interface. But the important thing that I want to tell you, the reason why I actually enable the options and I showed you how the don't allow filter part should be there. Let me show you why that is important. Now, let's say I am going to filter a specific location, Bangalore, right? So let's say I have to navigate to another part of the report and I'll have to come back to this part 2 dashboard. Okay, so ideally what should happen is that the filter could have actually vanished, right? But that is not the case here. This is a persistent filter option, which means it is going to remain even if you go back to any pages or you navigate to another report and come back, you'll still be able to see the filter that has been applied on this report. So had you not disable that option, if it was enabled, you'll not be able to see this. Okay, so let me just show you how. Okay, so let us try to republish the same report. Okay, so go to this. Okay, so let us just quickly make changes to the options. Okay, so go to your report settings and make sure this is enabled. So when it is enabled, you're actually telling don't allow the end user to save filters on this file in the Power BI service. So now you understand the reason of persistent filters. So by default, it is disabled. But if you're going to enable it, right, you're telling that please do not save any kind of filters in the service account. So let me just click on this and let me just republish again. Okay, and another thing, guys, when you're republishing, you don't have to necessarily delete the report and republish. So let's say you forgot to make some changes, you came back and you made those changes, you can still republish in the same workspace. So it will ask you if it has to replace the existing data set. So at that point of time, you can just click on replace and you'll still be able to see. Okay, so it's getting published now. And try to open this particular dashboard. Let's try to close the other dashboards. Okay, take some time to load. Okay, so now let's do the same thing. Okay, click on Bangalore here. The filter is getting affected. Now just go back to any other report. Okay, go back to home or something. And again, come back to this test PBI and click on this part 2 dashboard report. See now, the Bangalore filter that was applied is no longer seen. So this again depends on your requirement. Okay, most of the cases I find persistent filters very helpful. But if you feel that I do not want such a thing, please go ahead and enable that button in the options before you go ahead and publish it. Okay, so that's about your workspaces and trying to understand how to work with your reports. Okay, next let's discuss about the various roles that you can give or grant to people who works on this particular workspace. So what you can do here is towards the top right corner, navigate to the workspace settings. So here you can adjust any settings if you want at that point of time. And here you just have to add the people you wish to collaborate. Okay, that is one thing which should have at least one person. In this case, it's me. If you go to manage actions, right, manage access, you have an option here to add people. So you can actually try to add people. And here, if you see, before you add, it is basically asking you for the access that you need to give. So there are 4 types, guys. One is the admin, member, contributor, and viewer. So these are the different roles that you can actually grant to the users in the Power BI. So let us try to understand, okay, what these roles in workspace means. So admin is nothing but, admin is the one who has a full control over the workspace, okay. He can edit, he can of course view, he can even delete the workspace. So he has that full control. Wherein the member can actually edit and publish the content, right? So they can build a dashboard from whatever data is available. Contributor, on the other hand, is also similar to that of your member, but only thing is your contributor will not be able to share the report and manage the permissions, okay. He'll not be able to share the report, okay. And even the member will not be able to add or remove the admin, okay. Admin control only the admin has. The last is a viewer. This is like a read-only access, okay, where the viewer will only be able to view the report. So this is more like a senior management people. So they are like mostly like non-technical and they may not know how to work with it. They are only concerned with respect to the managerial point of view and want to view the report. So these are the various roles. So here, before I actually start adding people, right, so I will have to provide an access to them, like a role to them, and click on add. So once I do that, it says that the particular person has been added. So that's about the roles in your workspace. So the next topic is very important, RLS, row level security. So this comes with your Power BI service, and this is something for which you have to manage role, and you should set it in the Power BI desktop itself, okay. Very important question with respect to the interview perspective also. What is RLS? So it is basically data restriction, guys. So let's say in our fuel bunk example, we have 3 locations, right? We have Bangalore, we have Hyderabad, and we have Chennai. So let's say I am a manager who works for the Bangalore location. So I don't have to have any visibility with respect to the other 2 locations, right? Like I don't need Chennai, or I don't need visibility with respect to Hyderabad. So in cases like that, there is something called as RLS, where the manager of that particular location is only able to view the report that he should be. Okay, so for that you will be using RLS, okay. So each user will only see the data that they are authorized to view. The data set remains the same, only the report view basically changes. Got it? So how do we do that? Very simple. Again, there are 2 kinds, okay. Again, there are 2 kinds of RLS. So we have static and dynamic. So in this particular module, we are going to cover the static part of it. Dynamic part of it is more, used in real time. However, if you want a specific video pertaining to just that, please drop in the comment section and we will cover it in the upcoming videos. So here, talking about the static part of it, that is something that you do in your report. So before publishing, you're supposed to assign roles. And how do I do that? So in the modeling tab, guys, go to this manage roles, okay. Once you click on manage role, you see a Bangalore manager. So this is a role that has already been assigned. All right. So this is a role that is already there, where I have put a filter where the city equals to Bangalore. Okay. Now let me first create a new role. Okay. In order to create a new role, just click on this new button, and let's say I'm going to create for Hyderabad. Hyderabad manager. Okay, and once you click on this, you are supposed to, here you have tables, right? So here you are supposed to click on what particular column you want to restrict this user. So in our case, it is location. So I'm going to have to click on the location dimension table, and in the DAX editor, I'm going to mention within the double braces, mentioning the location. So here in our case, I think it's the city that we have to mention, right? So I'll be mentioning city is equal to, within the double quotes, Hyderabad. Make sure that the spelling is correct. That's it. Okay, so this is, you are statically assigning this irrespective of the user login. Okay, so here I'm just supposed to click on save, and there you go, successfully the role has been applied. Now once it's applied, let's try to test it, how it will actually look, right? So here the same modeling tab, come to view as, and in the view as you see the roles that we have created. So click on Hyderabad manager and say okay. So there you go. So now it says now viewing as Hyderabad manager, isn't it? And you will only be able to see the reports here. So now what we can do is you can just select everything. You can just go back to your Power BI service. Okay, so you have learned how to basically create a role, right? Now let us see how you can assign a person to that particular role, because at the end of the day, you have just statically created it. You have not assigned anybody to it. So let's see how to do that. Okay, so in your semantic model, right, go to security. So once you navigate there, you have this RLS. So here I'm able to only see the Bangalore manager. The reason being I've not republished this report, guys. But however, I do have the role set for Bangalore manager. I've done it the same way like how I've done the Hyderabad manager, right? So what you're supposed to do here is just click on the member and try to add their email ID. Okay, so once you added, right, you see the 0 is now 1, which means you've assigned this person only has the Bangalore manager, okay, who has the information to only view that particular location. And once you save, you can click on this 3 dots and you can test the role, guys. So once you test the role, this particular person, this is how the dashboard will look like. So if you see in sales and purchase, he is only able to see Bangalore related information. All right, so once he logs in to that particular PBI service using his credential, this is how the report will look like. All right, so that's about the RLS. So to summarize, what are the advantages of having RLS in our project? A, you have data security. So it is highly restricted based on the location that they are handling. The reports also look cleaner, right? It is not jumbled. So the person who's assigned to view Bangalore doesn't always have to, view all the other 2 locations, and that could lead to confusion. And also here the data set is centralized, isn't it? So here you're not having a separate data for Bangalore, you're not having a separate data set for Hyderabad, it's all centralized. Okay, and also the governance. So with respect to the governance, what you're talking about is that now the owner or the auditor will basically get a 360-degree view. Okay, and he will only be able to see the data that is relevant to his operations. Okay, so that's the summary of advantages of your RLS, which is also very important. Okay, now post this, what we can do is, guys, understand about the refresh, which is one of the very important topic when it comes to Power BI service and the whole point. Okay, so refresh. So now right now your data is the way it is, right? But don't you think in a fuel bunk, the data is supposed to get added every day? There is daily transactions that is happening, right? So it is supposed to get growing day by day. So in cases like that, every time manually refreshing that is just an headache. Just see how you have to manually refresh when it comes to your dashboard. Okay, so in the home tab you have refresh, and you can just click on schema and data. What happens is that it takes time. The reason being, it also, the larger the number of tables you have, the longer the time. It also depends on the memory of your system. Additionally, it is also syncing all the schemas, which is the data modeling. It will see if anything is placed. So it is this point where if you've made any mistakes with respect to your columns, like adding or deleting from your data set, or your replace the location, here is where it is going to throw an error. So if it throws an error, you just have to go back to your data set, or you have to go to your transform data and you have to look into it. In case if you guys want to know how to debug the errors that happens during manually refreshing by navigating to transform data, please let me know. If you want any session based on that, we can do it practically how it looks like. So that's the manual refresh, guys. But this is going to take time, right? Every time you have to manually refresh and then publish is just not happening. So let us try to understand how to do it in Power BI service. Okay. So now let us just go to the workspace, test PBI workspace. Okay. So here your refresh option is present on the semantic model, which is why, because refreshing happens on the data set, right? Here you have this 3 dots, right? I suggest you click on it twice, okay? And here you have something called as settings. Navigate to settings. So in the settings, you will see a wide range of options, guys, okay? If you click on your gateway, right? So do you see I have a personal gateway that is running? So in your case, you will not see this option. And if you don't see the gateway option, you will not see this refresh option. Configure refresh option will be disabled, okay? So let me tell you what exactly is this gateway that we are talking about. Why you have to have an installed gateway and how is this going to help in refresh, okay? So let's dive in. Okay, so gateways acts like a bridge between your on-premise data sources like your Excel, SQL, databases, ERP system sitting in your local computer and the PBI service cloud. Simple, guys, let me show it to you in a diagrammatic way. This is your local file, right? And this local file can be a CSV file, it can be a Excel file, it can be your SQL database, okay? So this is basically there locally sitting in your system. So this is also called as an on-premise data, okay? But on-premise data is not the only type of data you will work with. Most often you will be going with cloud, because now that everybody are migrating to cloud, it could be your Google Sheets or a SharePoint. So for this you will have to provide your credentials for which you have to sign in. But this gateways is only in use when you're using on-premise data. So make a note of that, okay? So first thing that you will answer if they ask you why are gateways needed, your keyword should be for on-premise data alone and mention some of the on-premise data sources like the way I did. So this is a place where you have your data set, right? And this is your Power BI cloud. So let me just draw a cloud. This is a cloud, okay? So this is your PBI service. Now, for you to publish the report or to set a refresh, to make sure that it's updated, don't you think this needs to be connected to this? Yes. So there is an interface, guys, that comes in the middle. So for this connection purpose, you have an interface, okay? And that interface is called as gateway, which is why it's acting as a bridge between your local file and your cloud, which is why configuring this is very important for on-premise data. Got it? So let me tell you how to configure it. Firstly, that is your gateway. Okay, and also in your gateway you have 2 types of gateways, guys. Okay, so let me just show it to you how that's done. So let's quickly just go to open the browser and just type PBA gateways. Okay, so here in the Power BI, this is the official Microsoft website. If you click on this, you will see 2 options. So one is the standard mode, and another one is the personal mode. Now you need to know the difference between the standard and the personal mode, okay? So let us first try to understand the difference between personal and standard. What does this exactly mean? It depends upon the scope, guys. See, try to understand that your scope of the personal is basically, it runs in one user credential. So right now I have signed in, right? So that's the one user credential, okay? But wherein your standard can be accessed for multiple users. So at a enterprise level, standard is preferred, okay? So your personal mode gateway is more like for your single use purpose. If you're the only person who's responsible for handling the reports, you can go ahead and use this. It only supports the import mode. So what we just did by importing the data set is the import mode. But wherein your standard, basically if you have any live connection, if you're directly querying to the database, those are the places where you can actually go ahead and install this, okay? As I told you, this is for individual developers and this is for production environments. Okay, so here we are going to install it in your personal machine, which we're going to see how to do that. And your management, yeah, it's one and the same, it's just a repetition. And the sharing part of it, very important guys, sharing, this cannot be shared. The reports built with this gateway are only used by that particular user, but wherein this can be for sharing it, multi reports can be shared with developers and even the consumers. Okay, and also this is a signed in user. This is basically a Windows service. Okay, it runs as a Windows service using a service account. Okay, and scheduling is also, refresh is also, there is some limitation. See, in your personal you can schedule like around 8 times a day, but in your standard you can schedule 48 times a day. So there is also a frequency gap within which you can schedule. We'll see how to do that. So now you just have to download this personal mode, okay, and try to install it in your system. Okay, so once you have done that, this particular thing here will be visible for you under gateway and cloud connections. Okay, so here you can see the personal gateway that is running in the desktop. Now you can simply go to the data source credentials and see the 3 data sets which we have in place. That is your dimensional table and even the data sets that we have imported. Remember, calendar is something that we created, so that is not here. It's on a query level. So these are the local files which we imported, and you have to go ahead and provide your credentials for this also. Only then it will be visible. Next, coming back to your refresh, you can go ahead and click on this, and do you see the refresh frequency? It says daily. So you can adjust to weekly as well. And here you see you can add time zones. See, so you can keep adding how many hour time zones that you want to. Okay, and this you can do it 8 times. So that is what it means by telling the pro license. So for a pro license, you can actually have 8 times. Okay, so what I want to correct in the earlier thing is with respect to the license, guys. So this is not with respect to the personal mode and standard mode. It is with respect to the licenses that you have in place. Okay, so with respect to the pro mode, if you are a pro user, you can use this for 8 times a day, and if you are a premium user, you have more benefits and you can actually use it 48 times a day. And also the maximum frequency is 30 and 15. All right, so this is a limit for your refresh when it comes to pro or premium. So generally for our example, 8 times a day actually works better. You don't have to go ahead and do 48 times. So that is needed when you have like a massive probably an e-commerce or something where every hour or every minute there is a transaction. Okay, it again depends on the domain that you are working in for. So here in our case, let's just stick to one particular thing here. Okay, so let me just schedule the refresh at so right now the time is 4 o'clock. So if you want, you can just give it at 4:30 p.m. right? So 4:30 p.m. my data set will get refreshed, and you can also send, if there is any failure notification, you can enter the email ID to which you want the notification to be sent, and you can simply click on apply. All right, so here again I'm just showing you a small example, guys. Go to your data set and try to add a date. Okay, I'm just trying to give 25th. Okay, this is something that I'm manually doing. All right, so when I do this, 25th is now my latest date, right? So getting back to this, so I'm saving this data set. Okay, getting back to my PBI account. Okay, you can just navigate quickly to your workspace, and here in the semantic model you can also perform a on-demand refresh. So this is an on-demand refresh that is happening. Okay, so this is a refresh, it's preparing for refresh and it is telling that it is already in progress. So this will take some time for the report to get refreshed. Okay, so just wait for the time till the refresh is actually completed. And once it is completed, do you see this timeline 25 gets updated. Okay, even in your fuel rate table, the particular latest date will get updated as 25. So you can also perform a refresh option here as well in the report. So there are multiple places where you can do a on-demand refresh, but scheduled refresh, as I showed you earlier, that's the only way to schedule. Right? So that's about scheduling refresh. Now we have almost come to the end of the session where we are going to see how to build or create an app based on whatever we have published. Okay, so here for that you need to again go to your workspaces and go to your test PBI workspace which we just created. So you have your create app option, right? So just click on that, and here app name you can give it as fuel bunk report. Okay, you can enter a description also here. This app contains reports pertaining to fuel bunks across Bangalore, Hyderabad and Chennai. So in real time, let the description be a little more apt. You can add a app logo if you want. Okay, there are a lot of settings that you can do. Next, let us try to go and publish the content. So in the content, you can add the content that you wish to. So right now in this particular workspace, I only have one report. So if you have multiple reports, you can actually choose what are the reports that you want in a particular application. So in this case, we just have one. So just click on add. Next step is to add the audience. Click on that. Okay, and here let me say entire organization, and let me just go ahead and publish the app. So it is telling me that it will take some time to publish the app, no issues. And as soon as you are done with it, you see there is a link that is provided to you. You can just copy this link or you can directly go to the app. So if you click on copy link, if you just type this link in your website, provided you have signed in using your PBI service account, it will directly take you to the application, where towards the left side you basically have a neat report where you can navigate to all the pages, right? And you have all the other options that we have discussed earlier, right? If you want to edit the app at any point of time, you can click on this edit button and it will directly take you to the page where you can edit the application, where you can update the app. All right. So an app is basically a packed collection of reports, dashboards that you've just created. And some of the important things that you have to remember while building or creating apps is that first thing, the landing page, the navigate option and the user perspective. So talking about the landing page, which is by default the page that you choose while creating the app. So your default landing page. So while creating your application, you need to choose which dashboard or report or the page that you want the user to open first, right? By mistake, if you just choose the report that is not very important or the page that does not make much significance to your business, what happens is that will be the first thing that the business owner sees. So that is not something that you want to do. So the first impression to your audience always matters. So the summary view or the most important insights are the ones that are supposed to be there. Nextly, the navigate options. You can also enable and disable the left nav option, guys, and also keep the navigation simple and user friendly. All right. And thirdly, the user perspective. You need to have the correct landing page in order to avoid any kind of confusion and make sure that they see all the key metrics up front. Alright guys, so that's the end of this particular course, and we have successfully completed how to publish a particular dashboard and also create an application out of it. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed all the practical sessions that has been covered throughout the course of this video. If you wish to learn more about beginner to intermediate data analytics course, please comment below. Thank you for watching and see you soon.